Well, good morning, folks. Yes, it is. It's Walleye Wednesday yet again, and I have so much to get to and talk about, so I want to get right to it. First and foremost, last week's Walleye Wednesday, I want to thank everybody that was involved in that. You have no idea what it meant to this big guy. And of course, to you, Mike Borovic, who put it all together. I can't imagine the amount of work that it took to do that. But as I said, it meant a lot, and I really appreciate everybody that was involved. Now, as our good friend Mike Borovic so eloquently said last week, Scotty, get to the meat and potatoes. And right you are, Mike, because you don't make friends with salad. If you didn't know, Walleye Wednesday was formed on the premise of walleye preservation. And the foundation of that preservation is through catch and release, because in a lot of ways, that is what is maintaining our walleye fisheries. Now, if you're talking about walleye restoration, well, that's a whole different gamut, because that includes spawning ground rehabilitation as well as stocking. And we can only stock walleye if we have people to run hatcheries. And when I think about walleye hatcheries, the only ones that come to mind are M&R Run. However, there are some private hatcheries, and one of them is run by a really good friend of mine who's been in the business for a very long time. And without further ado, I want you to meet my good friend Karl Dickob. Okay, I'm here with Karl Dickob, Kinmount Fish Farm. You've been in the industry now for how many years?
Since 79 full-time, since 84.
And that was a full-time, and 84 is when you started doing it full-time?
Yeah.
Wow. And back then, was it mostly trout that you were farming?
The first 3-4 years, but then I branched out after the Game and Fish Act got changed.
Right.
That was in, I think in 86, 87. I became the most diversified fish farm in Ontario.
Wow.
I have about 30 different species of fish and crayfish and minnows on my license.
Wow.
Some I only culture on as consignment, like lake trout, muskellunge,
Wow.
and other more exotic fish, what they call they're hard to raise. You know.
And where did a lot of this knowledge come from? You're originally from Germany.
Yeah, well,
Is aquaculture big in Germany?
it is.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back about 800 years.
Wow.
You know, they have still some fish farms in operation since that time.
Wow.
Got very much promoted first by the monks and also by Charlemagne. I forgot even what the German name for that king or Kaiser was.
I wouldn't even hazard a guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So you come to Canada. Was this initially what you wanted to do when you
Yeah.
first came here, was to raise fish?
That was my idea, because the fish farm my uncle had in Germany, I wouldn't be able to inherit because he had his own kids. And there's so many people and so little land
Right.
in Germany. So I thought, and I always was fascinated by Canada, not so much by the States.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got here, there was so much water and so many fish everywhere, so many restrictions on raising fish. At that time, you could only culture rainbow trout, brook trout, bass, and that's it.
And then in the 80s, it opened up to just about everything. I think I already know the answer to this question, but what made you choose coming to Kinmount?
Well, Kinmount is pretty well the same like where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
Hills.
Yep.
I hate mountains where my wife comes from.
Okay.
But the hills in Halliburton are just high enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
The fishery was good. I like walleye fishing, and in those days, you go for 2 hours, you had your limit,
Yeah.
you know, which is all past, but could be restored
Yes.
with the proper support.
Good point. On your property, you have a full-fledged hatchery.
Yeah.
So you can raise from eggs into fry
all kinds of species of fish. What is some of your more popular fish that you raise?
The way it is nowadays, any fish.
Any fish.
Because if I sell bass and walleye, I sell people the whole ecosystem.
Wow. Right from
You know,
scratch.
to imitate Mother Nature.
Go through the process of, if someone were to call you up on the phone and say, listen, Karl, I want to raise walleye in my pond, what would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I would ask, how big is your pond? How deep is your pond? What kind of fish do you have in right now? And is it a very weedy pond and so on? Is it a very weedy pond? You might need aeration in it, like a windmill or electric aerator.
I've been talking to some people that have a vested interest in improving the walleye fishery in the Kawartha areas. And that's one of the biggest reasons that they have seen a decline in walleye. Water levels obviously being probably at the front and foremost of their problem, but also boat action and wave action that has been it's been causing a huge decline in walleye fry.
That's the main decline.
Yeah,
It used to be people never came out to the cottage before mid-May or so,
Yes.
when the walleye had hatched and dispersed over the whole lake. Now, as soon as the ice is out, people live on the lake and they run along the shoreline, create big waves with the boats. First they kill the eggs, and then when the walleye hatch, for the first 2 days or so, they swim only up and down, they get all killed.
Right. One interesting thing that has happened that I don't think has happened in all the years that I've been on this planet is the closing of a fishery. And Lake Scugog recently was closed for walleye fishing. What's your take on that?
Idiotic.
The closing of the lake?
They never bring the fisheries back by closing the lake. I think I told you before, to get the fisheries back in Scugog is by stocking walleye in the springtime. The slot size is not the right way. What should be done is to put a catching size from at least 18 inch on a walleye. Everything smaller than 18 inch should be released.
Interesting.
Because these sizes of walleye from 10 inch to 18 inch, they eat a hell of a lot of undesirable fish. Get that population down. And look at the economics. How much food do you get out of a 10, 12, 13, 14 inch walleye?
An hors d'oeuvre, maybe, a small, they barely fit on a cracker. You have been doing this for a number of years. And we are a dying breed of people interested and have the passion for doing. Now, I could never do what you do on your scale, but I certainly have the passion for walleye, and I have enjoyed every minute of what I've been doing. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of us left doing this work. What do you see the future? What do you see as the future when it comes to aquaculture here in Ontario?
Well, if we don't get a change, if the present government gets back in, if they don't change the attitude and support of agriculture, there won't be any left. I can supply only about 10% of the demand what people want from me for stocking. There are cottage associations and landowners and you name it. Well, hopefully my association can work out something, We're in an election year. I know there's good people in every party. I dealt with them. I got great things accomplished working with the
Yes, you have.
NDP, great things done with the PCs, and unfortunately, when the Liberals got in, everything went downhill.
Well, that's one thing that a lot of it is what it is, but that's it is one thing that a lot of our anglers here in Ontario don't realize is what an influence you have been on our fishery and how you've opened the door to not only the culturing of warm water species, but the introduction and stocking of warm water species. So on behalf of all us Ontario anglers, Karl, thank you very much. Now let's go have a look at your facility. And how many in a tank would you be able to raise?
I had up to 4,000 in here.
4,000. And these are all brook trout, right, Karl?
Yeah. I get more often fed if my wife drives me out of the house. I have nothing better to do.
And these fish are slotted for a customer that's coming to pick them up soon, or?
Yeah.
And roughly how many are in here?
There should be around 1,100 left.
1,100 left. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the discussion that Karl and I had about the future of our fishery. You are a wealth of knowledge, and hopefully you can pass some of that knowledge on to myself as well as others.
Well, I hope that, as we discussed, that you get a lot of interested fishermen together, that we can discuss things on the broader scale for the future of you young guys. I'm a miserable bugger, but I like to get the fisheries back as much as possible.
Well, you weren't a miserable bugger today.
Thanks
Again, for having us up here. It was
You're
a
very
beauty
welcome.
day. Interesting to see all the fish and how you've got everything set up. Guys, till next week, be smart anglers. Catch your limit, limit your catch, and practice catch and release every chance you get. Because as Karl will say, it's what's maintaining our walleye fisheries. Take care. All the best.